Thank you very much. Martin's back again. We've done this once already. Martin and Larry's already been here. We're updating the software over here. Brittany's about to save our life. Were you starting to worry, Thor? You're muted.
Okay.
George, do you have a name?
Right, every one of them.
I've got lots of titles. Well, I'm running with many of right there. Got to take a few notes, you know, many of them.
Hello.
We don't have the owl working yet, so I'm flying the owl.
Oh, lost you there.
Very odd.
So, George, yes, because of the way this is set up now, the whole thing is going to be. I wonder if. Let me see.
Do you want to be here?
If I just move that back. Hi, Beth.
Hi there.
Hi, Beth.
Good morning, although it's good afternoon there.
Is Steve here?
Who? We don't have.
An old relative named Steve Ewing. How you doing?
We do?
Can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Okay, good.
How's the weather in Missouri?
Hot.
Is it? It's lovely
Really
here.
hot.
It's about 50 and cloudy, a little drizzle maybe.
Oh.
Perfect Scottish weather.
We're going to pretend that we're there with you.
So good to see you, man. Yeah. So proud. You're doing a good job too, you know.
Thank you.
I don't care what they say about you, you know.
What did it say?
That's just what I heard.
Okay, so I'm just checking. So I want this to be
Are you like
trying to get this set up so that.
Well, you don't take yourself seriously enough, maybe.
So that and just at least this seems to be working in some.
Yeah, yeah, you can see it. That's good.
Can you see us okay then in America?
Yes, I believe we're seeing it quite well.
Right, good. And so
Oh my.
I am expecting more people. Oh, it is only two. It is only two, yeah.
Where's the X? Oh, where did we go? Where did we go?
At least three more.
Well, without you, we wouldn't be here. You know,
Thank
none
you.
of this would be, no, it's true, from what I can tell.
Concept of the clan commander was, well, going to be once invented, because the original concepts taken from the Gaelic structure of a Celtic clan, and I don't speak Gaelic, so the nearest I can get to it is Carn Carth. The Carn Carth was the war leader, primarily if the chief was a minor and unable to lead the clan, or was perhaps in prison somewhere because they'd been captured. But if the chief was simply incapacitated or too young. So traditionally it was an actual primarily military role, and had really no meaning after the 1745 collapse of the military clan system, as the Hanoverian government was determined that they would never, having made a mistake, having thought they'd defeated the Jacobites in 1715, there they were back 30 years later, in even greater force. So they were determined, absolutely determined, that it wouldn't happen again. And so they dismantled the entire clan military structure and confiscated all weapons. It was illegal for Highland clansmen to own anything except, fowling, small guns you could use to hunt ducks, but nothing else. Not that many weren't hidden away, but if you know what I mean. And it was really only in the last part of the 20th century when there was such a resurgence of interest in clanship, principally from the diaspora. I mean, from Canada, the United States, Australia, Hong Kong, you'd be amazed. And it's a phenomenon, of course, that's familiar. Those of us who travel to your great country frequently will know that at all kinds of huge outdoor events, you'll find Polish dance troupes, Ukrainian folk groups. The diaspora of any nation, at first, anyway, has more in common with its countrymen. So whilst they might want to assimilate to the great American dream, nonetheless, socially, it's quite nice. One of my standard jokes is, we wear these sage wigs. So, Thor, do you want to open the?
Yeah. Are we ready in America?
We are ready.
Okay. So I'd like to just briefly welcome everyone to the second Ewing Family Convention. The first was 10 years ago. And it is just point out it's being held concurrently both here, Strathlegal House in Scotland, where we're a little bit thin on the ground, but I think we're making up for that with the membership in St. Louis in America. And so without wasting any more breath, I'll hand over to actually I have a page because there's a whole
It takes a page to do.
There's a page I would like to hand over to George Way, Commander of the Most Venerable Order of St. John, His Majesty's Senior Sheriff of Dundee, and Rotsey Herald in Ordinary. But I'm told that after this we can just call you Rotsey.
Correct.
Thank you.
Can you see me properly?
Yes,
Or would it be easier if I stood?
I'm sorry.
Would it be easier if I stand up?
No, you're fine.
Yes,
You're fine sitting.
Anyway, to those of us here in Strathleven, welcome. To those of you in Clan Ewing in St. Louis, again, welcome. As I say, I'm Rothsay Herald, and I have been sent by the Lord of Lyon King of Arms, and I think we should start by tabling my commission, and I have here my commission of the 25th of April 2023, and it reads as follows. The Court of the Lord of Lyon, Her Majesty's, it was then, New Register House, Edinburgh. We, John Joseph Morrow, Lord of Lyon King of Arms, do hereby appoint Carrick Pursuant, as I then was, George Way of Queen, as Supervising Officer to the Family Convention of the Clan Ewing to report in due course to myself. And that's signed by Dr. Morrow, who is a Commander of the Royal Victorian Order, Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, a King's Counsel. So thank you very much. I'll briefly set out the history of clan conventions. In the last part of the 20th century, a considerable body of interest had arisen in clanship in general, far more than there had been in the 50 years before. The Lord Lyon Innes of Lerny felt that because many families' chiefships had lapsed, clan lands had been lost, families dissipated, that it was unfair that the families of greater tradition, Campbells, Macintoshes, McGregors, could meet under the banner of their clan chief, and other very eminent names, but because of the dispersal throughout the diaspora, were not able to do so. And so he constructed from the traditional military structure of clans the title of clan commander. Now, that comes from the Gaelic, and forgive me, I'm not a Gaelic speaker, the Gaelic Clan Hath, the head of the clan. And the Clan Cath was effectively a military leader. Usually when the chief was too young, or perhaps the chief had been captured and was held in a prison somewhere and couldn't lead the clan. So originally it was a practical day-to-day job and primarily for a military purpose. But the title existed. The Clan Cath is part of the structure, along with the hereditary piper. You know, it was a job, but it hadn't been used in the military sense for 250 years. So Sultan, as we all affectionately called him, decided that he would utilize the idea of the military leader who acted in the absence of the chief to create the title for someone who he would appoint to search for a bloodline chief. And as part of that, to rally the clan, to be a focal point for people, Ewings, whatever they might be, Beards, another example, to give them a way to come together, absent a chief. The other advantage that he perceived was that if the commander rallied the clan, there was more chance of a bloodline chief emerging. Because obviously, where you have the dispersal of families, the very idea that you once had lands, titles, castles, might well be lost to many, many people. So part of the clan commander's job is to rally the clan, is to raise awareness that whatever the name might be, that there was a history, and that includes newsletters, websites, whatever. And so the clan commander is appointed, and usually for an initial commission period of 5 years. That can be renewed. After 10 years, if the Lord Lyon is satisfied that the searches for a bloodline chief have been diligent, but thus far unsuccessful, he will order what we are at today. A second clan convention to consider whether there should be a petition made to the Lord Lyon to recognise a new hereditary line. And we all need to be very clear about this. We are not electing a United States president for a period of 4 years, or I think did Truman do 4 times 4? But if the Lord Lyon accepts whatever recommendation this convention may choose to offer to him, then that becomes hereditary. So everyone has to understand this is a major step, and it's an irrevocable step in that once the Lord Lyon has issued letters patent granting undifferenced arms, plain arms of Ewing to someone, that line becomes the chief and will remain the chief's until it dies out, if it does. So it's a momentous decision, but it's one that has to be taken because the whole purpose of the last 10 years has been to put the name of Ewing back on the clan map, and it's a natural progression to go from a situation where the Lord Lyon is in control, because bear that in mind, if Lyon decided to keep commanders going, then he or she in the future, he or she would actually be in control, because the commission would only be 5 years at a time. There's a point at which, what the present Lord Lyon wishes is that emerging names take their own responsibility and move forward as every other. He doesn't control the Campbells, he doesn't control the McGregors, he doesn't want to control the Ewings. And so we are at this crossroads where the future of the Ewings has to be decided. Do the Ewings wish to be a full clan, which involves having a hereditary chiefly line, and therefore be in control of their own destinies? Or if they stayed in the commander system, which is not impossible, effectively the Ewings would be under the control of a Scottish royal functionary. And no matter how grand and how pleasant Dr. Morrow is, he does not want to be looking over the shoulder of clan commanders for more than 10 years. His view is that 10 years is a period of time that, well, it's recognised in Scots law. 10 years, for example, is how long you have to hold land. Say you have a defective title. A farmer has sold you some land, but the paperwork is bad. Under Scots law, if you physically hold that land, if you say, this is mine, you put up fences, you put your cows in it, after 10 years, your title, which may have been defective before, cannot be challenged. So what we call the 10-year prescriptive period, Dr. Morrow chose to say, thus far, and really no further, a decision has to be taken. Now, here in Scotland, we have only one nomination, and that is John Thor Ewing. No one here wishes to make any other nomination. So the question has to be for the United States. Is there anyone who wishes to make another nomination for recommendation to the Lord of Lyon?
Date? No.
And just to be absolutely clear, perhaps we can just ask the room, just in case someone's shy, the last chance, if someone wants to stand up and say, I should be chief, they may do so now. No other nomination? Thank you. In which case, obviously, holding a formal vote might seem pointless, but it's not. This is not a coronation. What I require is for this room and in St. Louis to accept JT, I'm going to call him JT. And so what I'm going to ask him to do now is address the meeting to give you some understanding of his vision for why he should lead you forward, so that you can accept or reject what he says. John Thorpe?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm JT. I think most of us have probably been called JR at some point.
That's making it. Jokes are funny, you have to explain. Sorry, go on.
So, yeah, probably many people in the Ewing Family Association will have first come across me when I started writing articles about Ewing history, which I really did after my father died in 2007. And So I think my first article was a couple of years later than that, trying to work out who the Ewings were, where we came from, based on the hard facts that I could uncover, rather than following the kind of traditional stories. Eventually, it led me back to the traditions that I had grown up with. But right from the start, I think I was looking to see if I could find a bloodline. I started off on completely the wrong path, but that was still what I was trying to do. Eventually, I did establish that our last chief had been Robert Ewing of Craigton, who I believe died in 1776. Now, although I haven't been able to establish with certainty exactly when he died, I am convinced that he's dead. And he traced his ancestry back to a Finlay Ewing in Ladyton, who we know died in 1588, April 1588. Beyond him, I've uncovered that it almost certainly, the line goes back to the descendants of Finlay Ewenson of Ardlamond, who in 1432, the date that the McEwens of Otter, that Sweeney McEwen of Otter lost control of his barony, Finlay Ewing of Ardlamond was quite clearly on operations to get recognised as a baron in his own right for the lands of Ardlamond. Why he chose to do so for Ardlamond and not his other lands of Lindsay and Down and Carrick, which he definitely held direct from the crown, I don't know. But it was Ardlamond that he chose to do it for. And it seems he wasn't successful in that. We know, we know that he was descended from an earlier Finlay McEwen, who was almost certain the son of the original Ewan of Otter. And so through that, we can trace how the Ewings are descended from that original clan. And we know that Robert was chief because his father was John Ewing of Craigton, who was chief at the time that Alexander Nisbet wrote his A System of Heraldry. And Robert himself had no known male heir. His whole estate was broken up between his two sisters. Looking back at earlier generations, although we have names of brothers, if we know the order that the brothers were born in those groups, in those generations, we cannot find any male heirs with any certainty. And once you start going further back, you might have the names of the brothers, but you don't know when they were born. So this is the research that I've been doing as commander and to some extent before when I became commander. And obviously, as many of you will remember, when the first convention was being called, it was a joint convention for, I think it was described as the name McEwen broadly defined, which included the Ewings. And the proposal was from the Clan Ewing Society, as it was in those days, now the Clan McEwen Society, that there should be a single chief that was in charge of both clans. And it was through my insistence, maybe, my stubbornness, that meant that that was not what happened. And I was able to argue through heraldry and through history that the Ewings had a right to determine their own future, and that as I understood it then, and I think the evidence has become clearer and clearer backing this, that the Ewings are in fact the true descendants of Clan Ewing of Otter, and there is frankly no evidence that any McEwens are in that line unless they followed the Ewing banner in later times. So since 2014, in the last 10 years when I have been commander, we've had the opportunity to act as a clan. It was that appointment in 2014 that got the Clan Ewing recognised as one of the historic clans of Scotland. Oh, welcome.
Hi, I'm John Ewing.
We have more Ewings around.
Excellent.
You haven't been waiting outside.
No.
What is that?
Yeah,
I'm seeing you.
these are my friends.
Right.
They're not officially Ewings.
Okay, well, it's good to see you. Come and sit themselves down. I should just say, we have just said, does anyone, is there anyone else who is setting themselves forward as a candidate for the chiefship? So as you were Ewing, I should ask you, are you here to be chief or to take part in that?
No, just about.
That's great, okay. So I'm just running through how things have changed. So we've got, as well as that, we now have a tartan.
Yeah.
Of course, since the tartan register was set up in Scotland, which is a great system. It means that people need to register a tartan, and that all tartans must be visibly different from tartans that have been registered before. And so that gives an official body that can take charge of these things. And in order to register a clan tartan, of course, you need someone in charge of the clan. And so as commander, I was able to take that role. We also have a website, which has got this family convention on its front page currently. We've got a Facebook page, or Facebook group, I think it is, which has a membership of upwards of 2,000, I think now. And in the last few years, we've had several Ewing gatherings. So I'm trying to remember how many there have been in Scotland. So we were first here at Strathleven House in 2016. We came here because this house used to belong to James Ewing of Strathleven. And in fact, it was he who gave it the name Strathleven House. It wasn't built for him. It was already about 50 or more years old when he moved here. But
Do you know how long he owned it?
he owned it all his life, and he died, I think, in the mid 1800s. But there is information when you come in that will tell you more about that. So that's what we've done, and by taking charge of the clan, by having a chief, as well as the fact that it's simply the way clans are set up, they're supposed to have a chief. When I first got involved, actually, I don't think I quite understood how important that was. And it did seem to me that a clan could get along perfectly well without one, because it's all about the sort of the brotherhood and sisterhood of the clan. And then I saw in another clan that there was someone who was claiming to be the chief, and there were several people, well, quite a number, more than several. He had quite a lot of people who were following him as if he was the chief, but he had no authority to be so. And that was when I started to realize, no, that there is a reason why you need to actually have someone in post. There needs to be a structure. And so, yes, as Roxy was explaining, I think it's an important step to take. And it says here, I wasn't sure if I would still be the only candidate at this point. It says here in my notes, no matter what the end result is today. And of course, there's still that level of ambiguity. This will be a new beginning for the clan. And I hope that in about a year's time, we take the opportunity to have a proper celebration here in Scotland for the new chief. And so I'd like to hand back over to you.
Installations are good fun. Thank you very much, John Thor. At this stage, I want to throw the floor open to anyone who wishes to ask the candidate any questions about his vision, anything they want to say. Be clear, this is not a coronation. This is an offering, and the Clan Ewing has to accept John Thor as their chief. So if you have any questions, any doubts, should a chief have more hair? At the end of the day, this is your opportunity to ask, either from the United States or in this room. Does anyone want to ask John Thor a question? We'll start in here, if you don't mind, in America. Anyone?
Well, you mentioned your vision. Did you already talk about your vision and why you want to be chief?
I think that the clan needs a chief. One of the things I want to do is to get more. It's noticeable that although we're in Scotland, there's no one here apart from yourself, George, who is actually from Scotland. I live south of the border at the moment, although I am thinking of possibly moving north in the near future. And I think that's a great shame. It's been difficult to get people interested here. There was one person who I was almost certain was coming, and another person who I thought was probably coming. And there was someone else from England who was going to be coming and then had to pull out. But compared to the interest in America, it is, I think that's not uncommon. And we were discussing earlier how if you're not in Scotland, then clanship puts you in touch with your roots in Scotland. And of course, if you live in Scotland, then you don't need that. But I still think it's an important thing for the health of the clan that we should have more interest in Scotland. But that's something that I hope to do. I also want to get to organise events in Scotland that people, no matter where they're from, can come to and get them well publicised.
Well, one thing that John Thor hasn't mentioned is that without a chief, you do not have a seat at the high table. The Standing Council of Scottish Chiefs, of which I was the secretary for 25 years, is a powerful body. And it's a body consulted not just by the Lord of Lyon, but by Historic Scotland. It helped to set up the Tartan Register. It has an annual general meeting, it has a large lunch, usually connected to the Royal Garden Party, and it means that the chief is able to mix with his peers and cross-pollinate. Hugely successful, I'm going to call them almost businesses, like Clan Campbell, can help by saying, that worked for us, it might not work for you. That's never worked. No matter how often you think that, take it from us, it doesn't work. So it networks. Now, I appreciate in the United States, the Council of Scottish Clans is a powerful body as well. But the interaction between the Council of Chiefs and other bodies in Australia, America, Canada, it is important. And without a chief, you do not have a seat
Yeah.
at that table.
So-
The clue is in the name.
Yeah.
It's
So
a Council of Chiefs.
I attend those meetings,
As
but I'm
a-
not in the.
No, you're allowed to observe. And you're only allowed to observe because of me.
Well,
When I was secretary, I forced a few changes to the constitution. And one of them was to allow clan commanders to at least come. I said, because how people, that's like children in school. If you say they can't come to the physics class, guess what? They'll not know anything about physics. So I persuaded the then council to wear clan, and I then said, and by the way, we should have eldest sons as well.
Yeah.
Because again,
Yeah.
if they don't serve their apprenticeship, but you still don't have a vote. You still don't, you can't be a delegate for the council to games in Australia or United States. Anything from the United States?
Can I say one thing while we're,
Yeah.
So, are you guys brothers? You do look alike.
No, this is Sinclair.
Oh, yeah.
You may need to speak now.
Oh, excuse me. So, I can't speak for John Thor going forward, but I can speak a little bit about him from what I've known in the last 10 years it's been. And I was one of the ones who was adamantly opposed to splitting the clans. Claudia and I, my wife, we just started to travel to Scotland. We went and visited the chief of Clan Ewing, John, and his wife Rachel, in Towarth, just north. I guess that's just north of the border. I'm not quite sure down there.
Yeah, it isn't.
Yeah. And they had us for lunch, and really nice family and really nice guy. He took us on a tour. He showed us his, the family castle and where his father was buried with the Riverisco logo, which my dad wore, growing up. He was trying to learn his identity. He never knew his father, and so my Ewing name came from someone we didn't really know. I mean, his father abandoned him when he was young, so there's all these drives we talked about writing after your dad died in 07, So these are some of the things that get us going and stir us, Anyway, so I thought, why not just keep it all together? It's kind of confusing, the heraldry, the genealogy of it, how are we going to find somebody? At that time, I thought it was the 1400s since we had the last chief, not, the more recent one in Craigton. But anyway, it was his research and study and then working with DNA and all kinds of things, and joining the Ewing Family Association, which through David Ewing and others that were so into the DNA, and all that, and then the history, Thor's history. As much as I wanted us to be one big family, I realized we weren't. So you were forcing something that was not true.
Yeah.
And it was his doing. Right to the end, I fought it,
Yeah, I remember I met you in a McEwen kilt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then I started wearing the McEwen kilt and the McEwen tie, or the Ewing tie. Yeah. But then now I wear the Ewing kilt, and I don't wear a tie at all, because I just don't. But anyway, all I can say is this man has done more for me personally to help understand, the Ewing family history, its origins, what he's learned about it, and brought this whole Ewing Family Association together like you wouldn't believe. So I can only see good things going forward with him, and I thoroughly, expect you'll be a great chief, and hopefully your son will carry on the tradition.
Thank you. And one of the things that I do want to do as well, you you may know I've done a commentary on an old book about the clan, trying to kind of show where it's in error. I'm preparing to write a history of the clan, or actually it's going to be more slightly broader than that, but looking from a Clan Ewing side that will put everything that we know into a book, into a narrative that is easier to understand. So that's mainly research, but not written yet.
So is that the case that once you become chief, then it'll be passed down through your son?
It becomes hereditary.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
whole purpose is to put the Clan Ewing back to where it would be but for the dispersal. So I made that clear, and sorry you weren't here. I wanted particularly the Saints to understand this is an irrevocable decision. Once the clan accepts that, assuming no one line, so generally speaking, he does, it then becomes a hereditary right, and will remain in that line until or unless it dies out, as happens in these things. So people need to be very clear. As I said before, we're not electing a president. There's no 4-year terms. There's no coming back, even if the vote's rigged. Sorry, President Trump. But at the end of the day, if you see what I mean, everyone must understand this is a once in a generation decision.
I should say, and of course, for many people, this might not be relevant at all. I know there are some people for whom it would be particularly relevant, but probably a minority. But it's an extra, just an extra perspective, is that I was just recently discovered that one of my closest genetic cousins through DNA, and of course that has no legal status, but is of interest, let's say. You can trace a line back to one of the sons of Finlay Ewing in Ladington, who is an ancestor of the later chiefs. And so I mean, BG would probably be able to work out something more specific in terms of likely earliest common ancestor, but nothing could be proved, nothing could be taken. But it'll, for those that are interested in the DNA, that would be, I think, of interest.
Any other questions from this room? Back to the United States. Are there any questions?
So I have a contribution. I'm David Neal Ewing.
We're not hearing.
We're only hearing occasional words.
Okay, I don't know where the microphone is. Test 1, 2, 3.
You're coming through clearly now.
Okay.
Just check that I've got the.
Well, let me just lean forward a little bit like this.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, lean forward.
that's good.
All right, here we are shouting. Why not? It's a long way to start from here. So I'm David Neal Ewing, Chancellor Emeritus of the Ewing Family Association. And
Hello, David.
you asked if we, hello, Thor. You asked if we had any questions for Thor. The fact is, we're not just becoming acquainted with him now. We've worked closely with Thor for a period of at least 10 years, all the way through this. We know him very well. And the feeling of the members of the Ewing Family Association is, I dare say, unanimous that that we are in full support of Thor Ewing to become our chief, based on long experience with him, with his ideas, with his plans, with the work he's done in the past. So we're here and ready to accede by acclamation. I don't know exactly what the words to use are, but we understand it's not an election, but we did have a vote, and it was unanimous in favor of Thor's candidacy. So,
Well, that's extremely helpful. But all I wanted to do, and all the Lord of Lyon requires, is that that is confirmed. I'm here so that if someone sitting behind you wants to stand up now and denounce JT, that it's just that, but that's why I'm here. Otherwise, this could just be a private gathering. This is the opportunity. I'm entirely independent. I'm not a Ewing. I'm here as a delegate of the Lord of Lyon. So all I need to ask is there anyone there who wishes to say anything else? You don't have to, and if you don't want to, then just don't stand up.
That I could hardly understand anything you said.
That's because I'm
Okay,
Scottish.
so really, I don't have any information to be able to really participate in this from a point of view of having enough knowledge about you in order to vote for you. So I don't know where that goes. I just need to say that I couldn't understand enough to be able to make a vote for you.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Uh-huh.
You do? You don't?
I don't know who this is.
Anyone else?
No.
Thank you very much. Well, in that case, I'll proceed to the final part of the proceedings. In this room here, can I take it? Does anyone wish to vote against? Because it's probably the easiest way to do it. Are we all in favour of a recommendation in relation to John Thor Ewing? Yes.
Yeah.
So in this room, there is no one opposing. Can I ask for the vote in the United States? Is there anyone actually voting against John Thor? As opposed to not voting for him, if you see what I mean. So it's unanimous in the room.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Well, really, there's no more for me to say. I'm not a Ewing. I'm not participating in your festivities. I will now report back to the Lord Lyon King of Arms. He will make his decision in due course. He's currently in Thailand on holiday. He'll be back in a week or so. Can I thank you all for attending, for your hospitality, for letting me see this wonderful building I've never seen before. And I hope that whatever else you're going to go on to do in St. Louis, you have a very happy time. And thank you all for attending. And the family convention element of this meeting is now closed. Thank you. I don't think we continually speak to people,
But probably just to say thank you.
but I'm going to leave now anyway, so you can talk about it behind your back. But then I will thank you all.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, are we done?
Okay,
Yeah, here.
I know.
our supervising officer has left. So that's the meeting over. Yes. Thank you.
Or if there's any other documentation or any thing that you need to send to Lord Lyon, please let me know.
I will do. I have the impression from what he said that that because there was no dissent, I should probably have the so DG, I think you haven't yet sent, maybe you have and I've missed it, the actual votes.
No,
But I was assuming that you weren't sending that until after the actual meeting was over, which would make sense.
Can he hear you?
Thor, can you hear me? Thor, can you hear me?
Hi.
I sent it to you yesterday.
We
Can't hear.
we've lost you again. We've lost your sound.
I sent it to you yesterday, and you responded.
It is link to the.
I think maybe I tell you what, put it in an email because
It is.
we
Okay,
Or you can call, maybe we should just call.
Okay.
call.
okay, now we need to sign off.
but it won't be a problem anyway. And as far as I can understand, George sees that as the process done, and he seems very happy with the way it's gone, with all the organization that has gone into it. He said everything seems to be completely in order with that. So yeah, I mean he's perfectly happy, and he'll be able to, I think, represent us to Lord Lyon as we'd want.
Do you?
I tell you what, when Beth speaks, we hear her. So again,
Thank you.
I don't know why it is, but maybe if Beth could relay anything that needs.
Sometimes it might.
Okay.
Computer, you don't hear it from the side.
Yeah.
The email with the total vote count and the registrants was sent to you yesterday, and you replied, thank you, to DG. And I want
Okay.
to thank DG for all the work that he's done, putting the,
Yes, indeed.
yeah, everything together.
That's super, because I have actually forwarded that straight away to George.
Excellent,
So
thank you.
he will have seen that, and he will have actually read it, which I've been away from home and touring around, so I haven't been able to go into all the detail. I just thought, this is the information, send it on.
Excellent, thank you for doing that.
Do we have any minutes or anything like that here?
They probably.
Um,
But, well, it's not that kind of a meeting, is it?
Yeah.
I don't.
Right.
Okay.
It's not an open meeting law.
So have we kind of dealt with it? I mean, if this were a better link, then maybe we keep it going longer, but have we, is there anything else that we need to deal with while we're here talking to each other?
Anybody? Can you sing something? Sing us a song. Can you sing the song that you sent with regard to the death of Stephen Robert Ewing?
Oh,
Do you recall that?
yes, but I don't actually know it.
Oh,
By heart.
I'm just trying to think of a song that would be appropriate.
About the one.
Or a poem, you're a poet, right?
I am a poet. I tell you what then, yes, I have one with me. Quite randomly, I happen to have brought a wodge of poetry with me. And so I will, yesterday I was at a place called Cairn Holy. And Cairn Holy is, it's actually it's about 6,000 years old. But according to tradition, it's the burying place of a leader who in legend is called Galdus, but in history was called Calgacus. And the Roman writer Tacitus describes how Calgacus fought against the Romans at a place called Mons Graupius, which is the battle that actually the Grampian Mountains in Scotland are named after the battle, because in the 1700s and 1800s, people thought that this was probably in the Grampians, and so that they gave the mountains the name after the Roman account. So I wrote a poem. I call him Calgas because I knocked off the us ending, which is Latin. And I wrote it in Scots. we don't know what language he would have spoken, probably something, either an ancestor of Gaelic or an ancestor of Welsh. But the language that people speak English in Scotland, but there's also a language known as Scots, which is similar, but not quite the same. This is called Calgach Speaks. Oer folk, undaunted by the outcome of bygone fechts, or by the oncome of Rome's prude and vaunty poor, will give it 30,000 strong upon the brae, and day and daily the warrior's eye comes streaming in. Some yet in bloom of youth, and others old and skilled, but Cootie Supple Calgach was the foremost of them all, and softly he spat that night in Collogue by the fire's light. When I think on who things storm, on who this streusel started, my hair taps wing that here, wha thurdoms yet unkent, we aye uphaud the noble property of freedom among us. Our path to win at this spot has no been easy. For all we have met the tyrants mich before, aft whiles they bear the green, yet still and on we stand undaunted. Our land we have shut our een to the inbreak of oppression, but fawning at their feet cannot build ye for the pochting of these reavers of the earth. Neither east nor west is enough to stick their wane. Alone they lust for rich and poor the same. Stoop, reef and herriment, they falsely name government. And where they make spoory, they cry at peace. Those slaves are coughed and selt but aince, and signed they're kept at their master's cost and care. We us, our goods and gear, are gien ilk day and cess. Our land and our thirst are lost to us, and I they hate our plain or richt forwardness when we win a beck and boo or told our snash. Whit hands them in poor, but our ain throng treatment. We needna fall out, though we dinna see the given. But our meesters click at this to set us in a stushy. Then, as we pingle wheel kither, they pochel the victory. But close your lugs to tryst it gowd and boast it steel. For here, among the heather of the brae, a boot ilk lowland now, or a lang ilk Hieland glen, there are even doon women, there are leal-hearted men. Say, think now upon your forebears and your bairns, and think upon the bairns o' bairns unborn. Let ilk man set a steen the necht upon the cairn, and let ilk man strike in freedom's cause the bond. Thank you.
Nice, beautiful. Thank you.
So, with that, shall we bring the meeting to a close?
Yeah.
I could sing you a song too if you want.
Yes, I believe we do need to bring the meeting to a close.
Okay.
Thank you for your participation in organization, Thor. We wish you the best as this request goes forward. And
Thank you very much. And if our petition is successful,
Yes.
then I hope to see you all at a party next year.
Next year
Here
in
in
Scotland. All right. Okay. I'm going to ask you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.